Holy Joes, a short story by Paul McCann. It was in 1967 when the riots first started. At first, rocks and petrol bombs were thrown from both sides of the road by angry youths. Sectarian gangs roamed the streets. Buses were hijacked and set alight. Shops burnt and people evicted from their homes. It wasn't long before the gunfire was heard across every neighbourhood. Each day, the running battles had left more dead on the streets. Children played in the streets as bullets and bombs echoed a new sound in their ears. Somewhere between law, fear, and innocence and justice, they learned to walk to school. I was one of those kids who grew up in Belfast City where troubles had come to stay. Some of the good turned bad, and people cried. It was hard to live with the violence and crime. It was as if a monster had been unleashed to attack the heart of innocent people everywhere. One of the innocent ones I remember was an old man called Joe. Joe was old and afraid. He had isolated himself in a little one-bedroom flat, embrangled by the chains of a social fabric that had deserted him. One day as I walked past Joe's flat, I heard him screaming out. That's where I met him. I walked into Joe's life by accident. Inside his little flat, Joe was withering away into decay. He hadn't been eating or washing. His senses were gone, eyesight and hearing. He was pinned down and gripped by paranoia. His social interaction had been taken away because of the troubles and the fear that kept him imprisoned inside the little flat. Joe had locked himself away from life. Too frightened to go out, he sat by the window each day, peering out from behind the curtains at the ever-silent danger always there on the street. The monster was out there, waiting to attack. Burnt down candles, and some without wicks, sat beside holy pictures all around Joe's flat. He had money wrapped up with rubber bands and little shopping lists beside them. I remember the first time I went to the shops for Joe. The look on his face when I returned with some food was priceless. I helped Joe to clean himself up, and I contacted the welfare agencies for some support. As it turned out, Joe's hearing was improved by hearing aids, and his eyesight wasn't as bad as I first thought. Joe had been married once, but his wife had died, and there were no living family members left to care for Joe. I thought to myself, here's an old man that has almost worried himself to death in a city that he never thought could help him. After a meeting with some aged care organisations and members of the local health team, Joe was provided with daily home help and a regular community nurse that would do his shopping and tend to his personal care needs. At this stage, it was a better alternative than a nursing home. Joe had the support now of a community around him, and some funds were donated to help Joe feel comfortable and free in his little flat. After a few months' work, Joe had a new outlook on life. He had a new security system placed outside his front door and smoke alarms and sprinklers fitted. The installation of spotlights around the outside of his front and backyard had complemented the new walkways around his flat. Joe had a phone with all the emergency numbers stored for easy use. He was given a walking frame and other mobility aids to assist him get around. Once a week, he went on an outing with the seniors club. Joe now had some new friends and was seen back at the local church once again. The troubles were still as bad as ever on the streets of Belfast, but Joe often said he could turn off his hearing aid to all that. When I remembered how insecure Joe was, it made me so happy to see this new person with his life together again. The ongoing assistance from Community Health was now in place, and I knew Joe was going to be okay. My last visit with Joe was very nice. I bought him some new candles and holy cards for his flat and asked him to pray for me. He said he would think about it, and he laughed. We never said goodbye. We just said hello. The end.